Hi friends, so today again we will see the next testing methods. So up till now we have covered many more testing methods. So first of all that we have seen about the tensile testing method, compressive testing method, bending testing method, torsional test, then whatever may be the hardness testings, the three different types of the hardness tests were there. So all those tests that we have covered in our topic, that is the mechanical properties and their testing. Now today we will just go with the next kind of that testing, that is the impact test. So first of all, before going for that impact test, you have to understand what is the impact or what is the impact force. So in mechanics, an impact is a high force or shock applied over a short time. So it is very important to understand impact is the high force or shock applied over a short period of time when two or more body collides. So such a force or acceleration usually has a greater effect than a lower force applied over a proportionally longer period. So basically you have to understand this particular concept very nicely, that is impact is the very high force or shock which is applied at a very short time, and in that particular conditions two bodies are collide with each other. So at normal speed during a perfectly inelastic collision, an object struck by a projectile will deform, and this deformation will be absorb most or all of the forces of the collisions. So whatever may be the collision it is there, all those forces has been absorbed. The effect depends critically on the relative velocity of the bodies to one another. Now these are the three examples which shows the impact force. So this is the first one. Here we can be able to see this is the car crush, in which it is showing that as a car crushing. So in this particular case, in a very short period of time, a large amount of force it is applied and these two bodies are collide with each other. So this is the impact. Then this is the on the second, whatever the wind force it is there that has been shown over there, or here that one person who is playing with the baseball and he's striking the ball with a very hardly with this particular stick. So this is again the impact force. So he's impacting or creating the impact force on this particular ball. So this is a windshield, or we can say this is the glass and this is the hammer. When we are hammering with the hammer on that particular glass, whatever may be the force is developed, that is the impact force. So in case of impact force, any earthquake, it is also there. So because of that earthquake, it is very in the very short time, period of time, a high amount of force has been generated. Now, what is the whatever may be the impact test it is there. So what why this particular test has been carried out? So basically the test is used for observing the mechanics, that is that a material will exhibit when it experiences a shock loading. So this particular test has been carried out just to observe what kind of that changes in the material is happen in the shock loading. So under that we have to observe the deformation as well as the fracture or rupture of that particular material. So whether that particular specimen is deforming or it is completely failure, that we are going to observe in that impact test. So here we can be able to see the impact testing machine. So basically either that particular material maybe gets deformed, it will not be damaged permanently, or it will not be fail. In the first case, only the deformation might be there, and in the second case, the permanent rupture, or we can say that fracture is observed. We can be able to observe. Now, why impact test is necessary? These are the reasons of why the impact test is necessary. First of all, just to measure the impact energy. So the energy required to break a standard sized sample with a sudden and sharp load. So we have to analyze how much energy is required to create the failure in the material. So that energy we will get with this particular test. How much energy that material can be able to absorb. This particular value we will get with this particular test. Then joule is the unit for this particular impact energy. So we are measuring this particular energy in terms of joule. Then we have to find out the toughness of that particular material. The impact test is used to find out the material toughness, and it is the ability to absorb the energy without the breaking. So hardness, it is different. Hardness and toughness, both are the different. I have already told you that whatever may be the toughness, it is again the different part, and hardness, it is the different part. Glass, we can say it is just a harder material, but it is might not be tough, because it is not absorb any kind of energy. With a small amount of energy also, that glass can be able to break. So the toughness is the meaning of that. The toughness, it is the ability of any material to absorb the maximum energy, so that we can be able to check with this. So just to determine the tendency of material in a brittle manner, it detects the difference between the material which are not in the tension test. So this kind of that things we will get with this. Now there are generally two types, or some few types of this particular test are there. So the failure might be depends on either it is ductile material or the brittle material, and it is depends on the types of the test, the rate of the loading, and the temperature of the sample. So these effects maybe gets affecting on those particular thing, that is on the test. So nearly all the material may benefits from the impact testing, but the most of the common types used are the metal, plastic, wood, and composite ceramics, as well as the polymers. So these are the two testing methods just to analyze the impact test. First method, it is called as a Charpy test method, and second is the ISO test method. So in the latter part of this particular lecture, we will see the video how the Charpy as well as ISO test is carried out. So these are the two methods in this impact test that we are going to conduct. Also, one of the experiment it is there that we have to perform on this impact test during your practical session. So this is the specimen has been shown over here, so which is showing that the specimen for the impact test and specimen for the ISO test. Now what is the Charpy test? So the Charpy impact test, also known as a Charpy V-notch test, so which is standardized at a high strain rate test, which determines the amount of energy absorbed by the material during the fracture. Now this absorbed energy is measured of a given material notch toughness and acts as a tool to study. So this particular test is widely applied in the industry since it is easy to prepare and conduct, and the results can be obtained quickly and cheaply. So in this particular diagram, here we can be able to see how that specimen is we have to manufacture. And this is the diagram, means whatever this particular picture is there, it is just showing that impact test machine. Okay, so this is the machine of impact test. This is the position of anvil. Again, we will just in the next lecture, that slide, I will tell you all about this particular methodology, how the test is carried out. But the one thing I want to mention, this particular impact testing machine is manufactured only in the Ichalkaranji, that is in the 5 industries, that is Phi Group is manufacturing this particular machine, and nowhere this particular machine is manufactured. So here many more suppliers are there, but majority, almost 90% manufacturing is done with this Phi Group. So it is very proud thing for us. In our region only, all those machines are manufactured and supplied to overall India. So this is all about the specimen, how that specimen has to be manufactured for the Charpy test. So basically for the Charpy test specimen, normally it is measured with the dimension of 55 10 by 10 mm with a 2 mm deep notch at the middle of the specified surface. So how the specimen has been manufactured, and this particular V notch is having the 45-degree angle, and here we can be able to see how that particular specimen it is there. So it is of 55 mm of length, 10 mm is the width, and 10 mm is the thickness. So whatever may be this particular notch is manufactured, it is just of having the 45-degree inclination. Now how that specimen has been set, this is the machine. On this particular here, this is enlarged portion over here, this is the simply supported kind of that arrangement is there. This is the anvil, and we have to release this anvil, and this is the dial gauge. So on this particular dial gauge we are getting the reading, how much that energy has been absorbed. So this is the specimen. Here we have to make the arrangement of simply supported kind of that loading, and this is the point of impact. Here we have to make the notch in this direction. Here that arrow has been shown, in this direction that anvil will become, or that hammer will become, and it will be create an impact. So this is the specimen. So on that video we can be able to see that this is the enlarged figures of that particular specimen, how we have to manufacture. It is very easy to manufacture the specimen with any material. We have to take the 50 mm length of this particular specimen, then we have to make the P notch of 45-degree. The standardized depth and breadth of that particular specimen should be of 10 mm. Now next is the ISO test. So ISO impact test and Charpy, both are the impact test itself, but somewhat the arrangement is different and the specimen preparation is different. So here we can be able to see the position. So in that Charpy test, this will be the position of that particular hammer. Okay, hammer we are releasing with the very at the very high level. Here in ISO it is leaving with the at the bottom surface. So this is the axis of rotation, fraction point. This will be the pendulum, or we can say the hammer. Then this is the scale, then this is the machine framework, this is the test specimen. So basically the ISO impact is defined as the kinetic energy needed to initiate the fracture and continue the surface until the specimen is broken. So this test can be used as a quick and easy quality control check to determine if a material meets a specific impact properties, or to compare the material for the general toughness. So either we can be able to compare the material. So ISO impact test specimen, somewhat that test specimen is different. So basically the test specimen is manufactured with a 64 mm of length, 12.7 is its whatever may be the depth it is there, and whatever may be the 3.2. So here we can be able to see, here we have to manufacture. So generally it might be also having the length of 75, also we can be able to keep. Then this will be a diameter, the depth 10 mm, and this will be the V notch. So this is arrangement for the ISO test. Now what is the basics that procedure I will tell you. That is, first of all we have to prepare the test space, then place the sample in the position, then record the initial reading for that machine, then move the pendulum, then that is nothing but we have to release the pendulum, then pull on the red handle brake. So once that impact is there, then we have to pull that red handle it is there. So that brake then record all those readings from the display. Then again the preparation of the test piece and place the sample in a position. So this is again for the second material. So this is about the impact energy, how it has been calculated. So here that specimen, after the impact test, that failure has been shown on this particular specimen. So toughness, it is measured with the impact energy upon the area. So this will be the releasing position. Okay, and this will be the final, whatever may be the height it is there. So this is about the comparison. In the Charpy method, the specimens is set like a simply supported beam. Okay, here we can be able to see for the Charpy test, this it is just a simply supported beam kind of that arrangement is there. This will be a hammering point. So this is about the simply supported arrangement. But in case of ISO test, the specimen is the cantilever. Here we can be able to see the arrangement for the ISO. So for the ISO test, the specimen is set on the cantilever position, in the sense that projection is outside. So that's why it is the cantilever. So that's why the Charpy method gives the higher reading than the ISO method, because we are knowing that when the simply supported condition is there, it will be absorb the more energy. But in case of ISO, it is just having the cantilever kind of that arrangement, and that's why it will not be absorb any higher energy. So that's why the reading will be higher for the Charpy. So this is all about some sort of the standardized values from the test for the ISO. Basically, when the steel is having the U notch, the energy absorbed will be 52 joule. For the steel with the V notch, it will be absorbed the 48 joule energy for the ISO test. Then for the brass with the U notch, it will be a 16 joule. For again for the brass material with the V notch, it will be a 12 joule. So for the Charpy again, it is showing some sort of that different figures. So what are the factors affecting on the Charpy impact energy? So the fracture mechanism, that particular notch. So these are the some factors that we have to take care while going with this. Then the yield strength of that material, ductility of the material, and the temperature and the strain rate. So these are the some sort of that impacting factors on the Charpy. So the notch manufacturing is the very important part in the impact test, because it is very sensitive while manufacturing, because accurate notch we have to make. So this is the V notch for the Charpy, and this is the key hole notches for the Charpy test specimen which is shown. Then for the ISO, how that V notch is manufactured. So some sort of that radius is also may be provided, that is for the U shape kind of that purpose. Now here we will see the videos of Charpy test and ISO test. So basically here how that arrangement it is there, that has been shown. This is the specimen, how it is manufactured with the V notch. So this is the position of this particular pendulum. That hammer is there inside this. So just see how the position is there. Now we are just measuring whatever may the required dimension are there or not. That is 10 mm, 10 mm and 55 mm. Now we are just setting that particular, how it has been just set. Just see, this is the simply supported kind of that arrangement of that particular specimen, and whatever may be the notch it is there, it is opposite to that hammer side. We have to take care of this. Now we have to release this particular pendulum. Now that pendulum has been released, and on this particular dial gauge, so this is the lever that, or we can say simply it is a brake. Okay, how we are stopping the vehicle. So this is the dial gauge. Okay, initially it has been set at the maximum value and then it has been reversed. So 20 joule, that calculation we have to make, that is energy consumed initially minus whatever may be the after getting that particular reading. Now we will just go with the isotope test. Now just see the arrangement of that isotope test. That pendulum is at the lower side. Again, this is the dial gauge. So initially that for the Charpy test, pendulum we have set at the very higher. So this is the that hammer which is shown over there. Inside that same kind of that arrangement is there. Now here how to set the specimen, that is with the cantilever position. Now with that we are going to set that specimen with the cantilever position. Now this is the specimen for the isotope test. In the Charpy test already that specimen we have used, that is with the simply supported, here with the cantilever position. Now before going for the test, again we have to measure the dimensions. So this is the brass material is taken for the isotope test. Now it has been set. Now just see how it has been set. Just that V notch is just started over here. So at the first point of that V notch, up to that we have to, now we have to release this particular lever. Now that lever is relieved, that particular component has been braked. Now we have to see the, now on that isotope scale we have to just take the reading and then we have to complete the calculations. So on that particular lab we are just going to complete it. So I hope you have just enjoyed this particular lecture and you have got everything about the impact test. So on the next lecture we will just go with the remaining tests.